Hi, welcome to Financial Freedom Friday. This is Peter Myers with Master Your Money Academy. Happy Friday to everyone. I hope you're having a great day and you're popping in for talking about debt snowball versus debt avalanche. I know we are in the middle of summer right now. It's hot and humid, especially here in Houston, Texas, and yet we get to plan for our future and freezing off our debt come winter. So that's what we're going to be diving into today. I want to definitely make sure everyone is very equipped for managing our debt, getting out of debt, creating that financial freedom, having the ability to truly master our money is really the most important things that you can be doing. So there's so many opportunities to be able to manage our debt. There's different methods, and that's where we talk about debt snowball versus debt avalanche, because there are different avenues to approach for however you want to attack your budget and really create that financial freedom, be out of debt, because that's not the way that we have to live. And where I go with this is there's really not a right or wrong approach to managing our debt. Again, the most important aspect is really just managing our debt. So, where I talk about that is in the sense of most of us have credit cards. The majority of us do, and the majority of us have student loan debt as well. And the crazy statistic is that, especially in Iowa, we, on average, most people are graduating with about $28,000 in student loan debt. And currently, that is about the average of a person who graduates from college, first job is making about $28,000. So, student loan debt and your take home pay are about the same. And that's alarming, right? Because at the same time, we have to be able to feed ourselves, we have to be able to pay our student debts as well as any other credit card debts. So, where we get to talk about is managing all of that together to create our financial freedom. We look at it as a full package, not just student loan debt as one individual, not just credit card debt as another subsidiary. And that's where we start getting into how do I tack it? Like, I have a lot of student loan debt, I have a lot of credit card loan debt. How do I get out of that mess? And I want to kind of share a little bit of a story for myself. So, I have said that I don't have student loan debt and I don't have credit card debt. And again, those are all choices. And we definitely talked about what's within our vision and opportunity costs. I have obviously made opportunity costs to not put myself into debt, but that means that I'm not spending money on other avenues. So I'm not saying there's a right or wrong to it. It's all about your individual vision for financial freedom because your vision is not my vision. As a financial coach, my role is to support you in creating your financial freedom and whatever is aligned in your vision. So, I want to talk about first with credit cards and how important they truly are. So, credit cards get attached to really our personal identity. And I want to caution that though at the same time because credit cards are not like defining you. So don't think that like I'm saying you're in debt, I have a credit card, that's a label that defines you. However, it is attached to your social security number, which is basically how the government identifies you. And a really good lesson that I learned this week is you need to be monitoring your credit report and credit score. So for those of you that don't know what your credit score is, I have really great methods that can do that. I use something called ID Shield to measure mine. And if you're interested in that app, definitely let me know in the comments. Can hook you up with that. It monitors your credit, all of your credit cards, any of your student loan debt, all of that gives you protection because what can happen is you can get hacked. And that's what happened to me is I went to swipe my credit card. I was purchasing textbooks actually for graduate school this summer. And I got denied and not realizing that there was fraud on the account. And what oftentimes we do is we are so kind of in the mindset, we're just going to do automatic payments on our credit card. And what happens with that, which is like totally good. I mean, fine, whatever. That way you're paying online, or on time, I'm sorry. And online is green too. And I strongly recommend the automatic payments. At the same time, I strongly recommend that you're still reviewing your credit card statements. In the case of me, the bank actually has protections in place. And this is why I like credit cards over debit cards, for example, because there are these protections in place. So the bank immediately stopped the credit card because there was a fraudulent purchase from REI. And for those of you that know me, I'm not really an outdoorsy person. Yes, I'm an Eagle Scout, but like I don't want to go camping in the heat. So I think the bank knew that because they automatically marked the REI purchase as fraudulent. And what happened is that when that occurred, it shut down the credit card as a protection measure. Where then, when I wanted to buy the textbooks, it was denying the charge. So I called the bank, and they're like, "Oh yeah, like we flagged this for REI purchase. It's like $800." And I'm like, "Yeah, definitely not me." So they shut it down, sent a new card. And the reason I tell you that this is really important to be cognizant of these fraudulent purchases is because that impacts your ability for lending. It impacts the loans. So credit is all, and that's why we look at it holistically, because whatever you do on your credit cards also impacts your student loan debt, also impacts your home mortgage or any other type of loan. So many of us who potentially want to refinance our student loan debt or refinance our home mortgage, it's all dependent on our credit score. So if we have fraudulent purchases on there, we are less likely to be approved by the lender because the lender uses the credit score to say, are you credit worthy? So a higher the score, the more likely you are to pay on time and pay the loan back. Yes, at the same time, it is absolutely true that in order to have a credit score, you actually have to have debt per se. However, you can be strategic in managing it. So for me, like I shared with you, I don't carry any debt. Do I have a credit card? Yes. Do I have a car payment? Yes. Do I have I guess student loan debt? I don't actually. But I also could say that like if I did, it's still impacting your credit score. And the way to build that up is obviously by having the ability to take out loans, and they want to show that you can repay them. So things like rent are impacting. So make sure you're paying your rent on time. And I know right now there's a bunch of different programs in place to assist with that. Do keep in mind that it doesn't prevent it from being impacted by your credit score just because you are option to defer rent payments, for example, as well as any other credit cards, things like that. I know I talked with a client earlier in the week and sharing with me that, oh, I have deferred payments till November, and which is on her student loan debt. And great, that's awesome. However, the interest is still accruing. So yes, I don't owe a minimum payment, but the interest is still accruing. And that's where we really got into starting to talk about the debt snowball. Well, this is an awesome opportunity for those of you that have deferred payments right now to reallocate funds and start knocking off debts. And I like the debt snowball because the way it works is it starts with the smallest amount and goes to the highest amount. And I'm actually going to share my screen, show you kind of what the debt snowball looks like, and then compare it to the debt avalanche. That way you can get a visual aspect as well. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to pull this image up to show you what the debt snowball method looks like. So with this debt snowball, we want to create a list where we list our debts out from smallest to largest. And the reason I do that is taking out the interest rate, we just want to look at what is the balance left. And it's kind of has to do with like motivation. So when we think about like in school, and I tell students this all the time, we want to be intrinsically motivated. At the same time, many of us rely on extrinsic motivation too. And the difference there is extrinsic comes externally, versus intrinsic comes internally. So things that are aligned with our vision for what we want as far as financial freedom are going to be intrinsically motivated versus extrinsic is like, ooh, I'm giving you a cookie every time you do something good, or the golden sticker or whatever. And we tend to want to have that extrinsic motivation too. That's just kind of our human nature. So what I like about the debt snowball method is you kind of feel accomplished, because when I take one off, that's the lowest amount, then I go to the next one. So for example, it's starting with $150 as debt A, and I pay off, like, give $50 to it, then it's like 200, and you continue to like knock off A, which is what's happening here. And then once A is completely zeroed out, so it became zero out, then I move that amount to debt B. So the monthly minimum for A was 150. I'm adding $50 to it. Well, now I have $200 to add to debt B. So I'm going to do that until debt B is knocked off. And then, so now I have two small debts knocked off, and going to continue with C in the same manner. So here is, again, is adding them all up from A and B. I have $350 now to apply to C until C, it looks like it has $500 and needs to be paid off, is knocked off. And then that is now applied to D until D is knocked off. Obviously, I mean, this is a really flat line because it's unusual that the minimum payments would all be 150 across all your debts. Very unlikely. So what you would do is, and not look at the minimum payment again when you sort this. So put it into an Excel spreadsheet, list it from smallest balance. So that's what's remaining left, not the monthly payment. I do care about the monthly payment. And the way this works is, and the reason I say I do care about the monthly payment is because you still have to make the monthly payment on all of these. So you see, like in this first line here, I still have to make the monthly payment on A. I'm making the monthly payment on B. I'm making the minimum monthly payment on C, the minimum monthly payment on D. However, I'm adding more to A until it's knocked off. So that's where this $50 is coming in from. So I hope that makes sense for the debt snowball method. This is no like right or wrong, because there is another method that I will walk you through, and I will definitely put these pictures in the Master Your Money Academy Facebook group, not on the page. So if you're not in the actual group, go join right now, because that's where I'll put these images to help you out. And you can also drop your email in the comments. I can also email it to you as well. So this is the debt snowball method. This is the one that I am using currently with students in Master Your Money Academy this summer, because I just like it better. It feels more accomplished, in my opinion, to knock out these small ones, and you feel like it's kind of the baby steps. And it's the same thing like when I teach in the schools too. I mean, it's like giving someone the hardest problem right off the bat. They're like, I don't know where to start, or like, whatever. So that's why I like the debt snowball. It has a little bit more of the extrinsic motivation aspect to it, versus the debt avalanche, in my opinion, is a little bit more intrinsic motivation. And when I say that, that means because you're looking at the long-term picture of your financial freedom. So yes, it's great to be paying off interest rates, because oftentimes what happens is that we start paying interest on interest. And to explain what interest is what you owe the bank as basically the fee they are charging you to loan the money. And when you start paying interest on interest, you're paying like a double amount in a way. So you're like paying to pay for the loan, which is kind of silly. So like, so we don't want that to happen. And yes, that can happen with a debt snowball, because again, we're focusing on the smallest. So yes, the higher interest rates potentially may not be the smallest. It is possible that you do have the smallest balance on a high interest, which is great. That's kind of then is ultimately becoming a crossover between debt snowball and debt avalanche. Because the debt avalanche method takes it in the sense of what is working as far as the highest interest rate, so which is typically your credit cards. And I also, this is a really great example because I also want to preface it as your mortgage is always going to be the last that you pay. So it happens to work that way in Debt Snowball as well as Debt Avalanche, because mortgages tend to have the lowest interest rate and they tend to have the highest remaining balance. So therefore, in both the Debt Snowball and the Debt Avalanche, mortgages tend to be the last. Also, but however, the difference is in Debt Snowball, student loan debts might be the smaller remaining balance opposed to a credit card. So that's where there's really flexibility in how you want to approach it. So on the Debt Avalanche method, credit cards tend to be what goes first because they have higher interest rates. So like this example, the interest rate is 22% and this one is 17%. So under the Debt Avalanche method, it would say that we get to pay those first because, like I said, what's going to happen is that the interest is much higher than what you ever started with. So those are my recommendations. I like the Debt Snowball because I feel personally with the Debt Avalanche that this interest rate is so high that it's possible that you're continuing to make payments and the interest is continuing to go and continue to go, because likely, like, if you had the full balance of what's on the credit card, you'd have already paid it off. And you probably don't. That's why you're in debt. So I just feel like it's you kind of like lose the motivation and lose the hope aspect when you're continuing to like attack this credit card number one and interest. And you probably just saw the Amazon package that definitely went on the credit card. I will say that is not my purchase. That is my family's purchase, but we are big on Amazon for sure. So, oh, and this is my grad work. You don't want that. You definitely don't want that. That's how you get yourself into debt. But there's a return on investment on grad school too. So keep that in mind as well. Where did the Debt Avalanche go? Okay. Well, the Debt Avalanche disappeared. So anyway, you kind of get the picture of how that works. And my recommendation is really to take one of the methods. What is most motivating to you is the question, because there is no right or wrong to either of the methods. It's going to be what motivates you more to be financially free, debt free. We definitely can talk about it if you're interested and how to best align. You can drop your email in. I have a really great worksheets that I send out to whoever's on my email list for free. So drop your email in the comments. I'm happy to email those to you. We also totally walk through it in Master Your Money Academy. So if you are interested in joining, definitely drop your email or put a comment down in the box, and happy to have you in the class. I know a couple students are actually watching currently. So this is the method we use. We've been using Debt Snowball. Hopefully it'll work out as well. And what I also tell students at the same time is that it takes about 90 days for a budget to really be in place and to feel 95% accuracy on it. So it is somewhat of a trial and error. There's no science to how to pay off debt. There's no science to how to budget at the same time either. So those are things to keep in mind as well. And we get to implement all of that into the budget and how it works in our monthly cash flow as well. So those are my recommendations as far as the Debt Snowball, Debt Avalanche, and really monitoring your credit at the same time. So like I said, I mean, you don't want to be cautious of that, any fraudulent purchases as well. And at the same time, I'm not one to necessarily advocate for credit cards. The reason that I like them is because it does add that extra protection. It's not an amount coming directly out of my checking account whenever I swipe it. I'm paying at the end of the month. I have time to review the purchases, to look at any fraudulent purchases as well. So it's easier to monitor for me. There's also really great rewards with credit cards. However, I had a really great conversation with someone the other day, and I want to again caution this as well. Cash back is not cash back if you're in debt. So I'm going to say that again. Cash back is not cash back if you're in debt. Okay. And what I mean by that is, great, you're getting cash back, but it's just going back to the credit card company. So it's not like extra money because you're just gonna have to go spend it on the interest essentially that you have. So so it's like don't get a cashback card if in essence you're just putting it back to your interest payment. And I tell people like that because I was talking about interest on interest. So when you get to the point of interest on interest, your cash back is just going to the interest on the interest. So you're not reaping the benefits at all. So that is my recommendation. Is to be cognizant of that because you're not reaping the benefits. So oftentimes when we shop for credit cards, we're so focused on the rewards when in reality, if we're in debt, that is not the approach to be taking. If we already have debt and we are high spenders on our credit cards, the best option is to be looking for credit cards with the lowest interest rate. Because if you're getting a cash back, but then a higher interest rate, the cash back is just going to the interest rate. And that's not a very productive method. So again, like when we talk about the debt snowball or the debt avalanche, ultimately we want the lowest. Yes, we want the lowest interest rate. We also want the lowest balance. And the way they work together is because the higher the interest rate, more likely the higher the balance at the same time as well. So those are my recommendations as far as looking at different credit options. Other ways are to build your credit. I mean, most of us have car payments as well. Definitely, those tend to be lower interest rates, which are fantastic. And typically, I would say when you're looking at debt management, car payments and home mortgages are going to be the two that most people always have. However, what truly amazes me is we as a society have gotten to a place where student loan debt is actually more than our house. And what's really alarming is that most people don't realize that student loan debt will never go away. So we have things like foreclosure on homes. We have things like bankruptcy on credit cards. We cannot declare bankruptcy on student loan debt. So student loan debt will always carry with you at the same time. There are options to refinance. At the same time, though, we have to be cognizant because student loan debt cannot necessarily be consolidated when you have different sources, such as private versus federal or state level student loan debt. So be cognizant of that. They can't always be consolidated. The other aspect that I hear often right now is, again, with the COVID-19 going on, a lot of our debts are in deferment as far as anything like credit cards. I know some are doing them, especially student loan debt. I know at the federal level, again, I have no idea on the private, you would have to check with those banks. But on the federal level, they are deferred currently on the payment. But remember, the interest is still accruing. So this is what I had shared with a student in Master Your Money Academy is, yes, your payments are in deferment till November. However, the interest is still accruing. So it's an opportunity right now to be using the debt snowball, really attack the smallest one, go down from 6 different debts to now just 5 different debts, for example, and feel more accomplished because you can take everything that you typically would put on the minimum payment on all the other 6 and attack it on one because you have that grace period right now because of COVID-19. So take advantage of that. That's an awesome opportunity. I mean, yes, your interest may still be accruing and you're still sitting on other debts, but it's better to get rid of one than have 6 or 7 kind of spread out, in my opinion. So again, if you have any questions on these, definitely let me know. Drop comments below, put your email. I'm happy to share different worksheets that I use with students in Master Your Money Academy. If you're interested in still joining the classes, you can also put your email or drop a comment below. Let's definitely hop on a call and chat about it. And again, I also give free one-on-one sessions for first consultations. So if you would like to join in on that to talk about debt management, definitely drop a comment, send me a message. You can also go to the Book Now button on Master Your Money Academy Facebook page. You'll see my schedule and availability because we get to be debt free and I get to support you for financial freedom. So right now is really an awesome time to be taking advantage of it, and let's freeze off our debt, whether you choose debt snowball or debt avalanche, and really create financial freedom by winter 2020 when we're freezing off. So Really hope this was helpful as far as setting up your debt management. And if you have any further questions about Debt Snowball or Debt Avalanche, be sure to join Master Your Money Academy Facebook group. That's where I drop all of different tips and strategies, as well as I will put the images of Debt Snowball and Debt Avalanche on there as well. So hope everyone has a great rest of your Financial Freedom Friday and awesome weekend. And I look forward to chatting with you all soon. Have a great day. Bye.